Grab a cup of coffee and start your Sunday with Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life features stories to inspire, motivate, and empower you. Live your best life now. Listen, learn, think, and decide. Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. Every Sunday morning at 9 on the Talk of New York, AM 970, The Apple. Visit cyacyl.com.
Good morning, this is Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. I'm Joan Herman. Thanks for tuning in. According to today's guest, Wes Yoder, the perfect conversation for men can be summed up in 8 words. Can you believe the weather at that game? Wes is the author of the book Bond of Brothers, Connecting with Other Men Beyond Work, Weather, and Sports. He is here today to help men break the masculine code of silence so they can experience deeper, life-giving friendships. Wes is owner and president of Ambassador Speakers Bureau and Literary Agency. While working in the music business, Wes launched the careers of many well-known artists. His literary projects have included media representation of The Purpose-Driven Life, Mistaken Identity, and The Shack. Wes has appeared on NBC Nightly News, ABC's Primetime, Dateline NBC, and CNN Headline News. Good morning, Wes. Thanks for joining us today.
Good morning, Joe. Nice to be with you.
So, Wes, can you believe the weather at that game?
It was fantastic. It was a clear blue sky. You know, it matched the uniforms on the field, and I fell asleep.
There you go. So we're done talking now. We can say goodbye and go home.
Yeah, it's a funny thing. The games are really important in our life, and my book obviously talks about the things that are deeper than our games, and yet one of the reasons I think games are important to men is because we seem to have lost our playfulness in the rest of life, and we use game as a place of distraction, a place of escape, and then it turns into sometimes an obsession for men and even an addiction. And the sad part to me is when it turns into sort of the last conquest that a man has is somebody else's game down at the stadium.
As women, we place so much emphasis on communication, and we often view men as superficial creatures without deep thought. Are we correct in our assessment? Are men really that different from women, or is our stereotype flawed?
Well, we're really that different, and the stereotype is flawed. I think what we miss so many times in our relationships with one another is, first of all, an acknowledgement that what we have in our marriages and in our friendships and our relationships isn't really what it could be and what it should be. So many people get married and there is this wonderful attentiveness that the man has toward the woman toward the man. They decide to get married, and all of a sudden, this whole relational aspect that we thought was going to be near perfect, close to heaven, somewhere at least on the slopes to heaven, turns into this disaster. And there's a great deal of sorrow involved, especially for women, and I think for men too, if they really tap down into it, in the disconnect that begins to happen when we start living at the superficial level. And that's what I think has happened so many times, is that women probably, as Paul Young, author of The Shack, says, women probably are smarter relationally than men, but we have so much as men that gets missed, and we miss it ourselves, and we get trapped in these places, even trapped in a dialect, if you will, of work, weather, and sports, and the things that really don't represent the deepest concerns and cares of our life.
When talking about marriage, and I'm so glad you brought that up, because for me, I think if men heed the message that you're trying to convey and that we're going to talk about today, just imagine how many marriages that can be saved, because people tend to break up because of these issues. And I think if both partners realize what's going on and perhaps implement some of the steps that we're going to talk about, just maybe you may have some impact in hopefully lowering the divorce rate or saving some of these relationships.
I think what happens in our relationships as the man becomes more silent, very often the woman begins to talk more. She tries to talk more to get him to talk more, and she, who thinks the man is not listening, she begins to listen less and less to what's really going on. She's missing the signs. She's not reading intuitively what's going on in the silence in a way that then becomes healing in the relationship. And so I think there's this two-way dynamic where where the man who has he just doesn't know what to do with his sorrows. He doesn't know what to do with the guy at work who once again is just a complete jerk. He comes through the door at night, mom and the kids are there, or maybe he's the stay-at-home mom. I mean, the stay-at-home dad. There's all kinds of dynamics in our world. It's not just a traditional family model anymore, but there's so many things that happen in a guy's life. Some of it stems back from our fathers. Some of it stems back from the kind of families that we're involved in. I think a lot of it also is connected to this aspect of a young boy's heart is a very, very tender place. And we're told very early, don't cry, tough up, man up, act like a man, be a man. And all of a sudden, with that language, there is nothing else that comes with it that says, but this is what real manhood is. And we're left to wonder. And the default setting of men in America is that it is this silent place where we defer to women, we defer to the culture, we never really say what we are thinking about anything we care about.
Wes, let me ask you, as parents, what would you say we could do to eliminate what you just spoke about? And to follow that up, I'm the mother of two young men, 17 and 19. And is it too late for me to make those changes?
No, it's not too late. I think one of the beautiful things that a father or a mother can do, whether you're in a co-parenting situation after divorce, or whether you're still married in a difficult marriage, or whether you have a healthy marriage and a healthy family life, you would not believe the young man. I'm 61 years old now. I had a young man at his wedding reception. This is a kid who grew up kind of with our kids and would eat at our table. Their family was a bit of a wreck. It looked good on the outside. Internally, it was just kind of this sad and rotting kind of thing relationally. And we would always tell this young man, listen, we love you. You're a great kid. And finally, he sat me down one time over lunch. This is about 2 years ago. He asked if we could come have lunch together. And he said, my father is having an affair. My mom doesn't know it yet. My sister knows it. What in the world am I supposed to do? So we talked about that. But at his wedding reception a couple of months ago, he said, Wes, I want to tell you a story. He said, for the first time 3 weeks ago, I told my father that I loved him. He has never told me, but I told him for the very first time, Dad, I love you, and all I could think about was you. And so even for a young man who has that kind of a stilted upbringing where Dad never once said, I love you, he is now, because he's heard it from someone else, he is initiating it back to his father. And I think he has the key to really unlocking, the terrifying place that his father lives in addiction and all sorts of things.
Wes, what about the home where there is no father and the mother has to fill that role? Is the mother able to fill the shoes of the missing father?
I believe that God gives an enormous amount of grace in those kinds of circumstances. There's a place where you have to, as that single mom, and there's a place where you can't. And I think the greatest thing that could happen in the life of young men who are in a single family situation is that there could be other men in the community, in the family circle of friends somewhere that help to fill that role in the young man's life. I think it's really important for, this whole horrifying story from Penn State, where you have a predator. We're living in a world that is a really scary place, to grow up in. But there are healthy men who can do things with your sons, who can say, you know what, you're a good young man. You're strong, and your identity is you're gonna be some kind of a guy here. Not just to toughen him up, but to really appeal both to the strength of his manhood and the tenderness of his heart. I think the strength of a young man, which is in a way what he glories in, and the tenderness of his heart, which gets so ignored. A mom has so much that she can teach her sons about the relational component, even if there's not a father in the home.
Wes, do you think that men that talk in a superficial manner, do you think that they're even aware that they're not experiencing a deep relationship, or is it just a case of they don't know any better because they've never had it?
I think there are two kinds of, there are probably two ways to answer that. I was talking with a young man this week here in our town. I had lunch with him. He's a counselor. and he was talking about this place as a counselor of loneliness that he experiences because he's got to keep so much confidential, and yet there's this incredible awareness that he has about his own life, and he says, "I'm not the same as other men." And I said, "In what respect?" He said, "In the kind of loneliness that I have." I said, "What's the difference between the two kinds of loneliness?" He says, "Mine is a loneliness, and I'm very aware of it." He says, "I think there are many men who are lonely and aren't even aware that it's loneliness. They have this feeling inside of them, and they're cramming all these external things into it to try to fill up this place of loneliness and emptiness and sorrow. And instead of looking at those things, they just continue on this. It was sort of like the hamster cage that runs in your mind that we call worry, that just keeps running and running. Well, there's another kind of thing we call the rat race, and that track is like that automatic thing that runs you at the gym. You're not going anywhere. You're standing in place, but you sure can worry, and you sure can fill up your life with a whole lot of meaningless things. I think that's where so many men get trapped, and they do shut off their mind. They do shut off their heart. Deep down, though, there's a trigger that can release them. There's a way to release them and bring them back to life.
Wes, what would you say is the surest way for us to make a man shut down?
The surest way, I think you can look around at the culture. I think the biggest place for men in their struggles is the hurt that has come often from their fathers and from other men, and where we are not inviting our young men into the deep fellowship of friendship. We're not inviting them to this place of manhood. We are not even talking about what manhood is like. It doesn't take very long for a young man to get out of college and to finally have the job that he wants, and he has all the parties that he wants, and whatever else in the Western culture is used to gratify a young man. And all of a sudden he says, "Is that all there is? Is this all there is?" And he starts becoming dramatically aware of the emptiness of a certain part of life, doesn't know what to fill it with, unless it's filled with strong friendships, unless it's filled with healthy relationships. That place is going to eventually either lead him into an addiction, lead him into a brokenness, lead him into a silence that from which other things like divorce and failures and dishonesty, all kinds of things then come as a result of that emptiness that's inside.
Wes, we have to take a break. When we return, Wes will share tips with us to help men get the conversation started. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Change your attitude, change your life in big, believe, inspire, grow. Salute the entrepreneurial spirit of small business owners. People who follow a dream, work hard, and make it happen. This week's Spotlight on Cecilia Antoinette is brought to you by REA, a global consulting firm that provides career and transition services to individuals and relocating families worldwide. Social entrepreneur Cece Minton is focused on health and beauty for women. She's the president of Cecilia Antoinette, a boutique lifestyle brand that caters to the wellness needs of women. Cecilia Antoinette offers high-quality anti-aging skincare, weight management, fitness, and targeted nutritional products. Cecilia Antoinette sponsors a variety of events, social and therapeutic, where you can experience the array of health and beauty services available. From fashion retail therapy to home spa and sampling opportunities to lunch and learn sessions, there's something for everyone. Attend the upcoming Lunch and Learn session to find out how you can become a weight loss winner in 2012. Cecilia Antoinette offers online shopping where you embark on your ultimate journey to wellness. Look for Cece Minton with Healthy Nanny Tips in 2012. For more information and wellness and healthy nanny tips, visit ccminton.com.
6 months ago, I was transferred to Seattle, Washington. My family and I made the move. My wife, Kay, initially focused on getting our new home built, enrolling our children in school, and maintaining our temporary housing. Throughout the process, an REA consultant stayed in close contact with Kay until she was ready to start her job search. After Kay enrolled, her REA consultant called her about an opportunity that was a perfect fit. The consultant helped Kay update her resume, provided salary information and market comparisons, and coached her on interview strategies. Within 2 weeks, Kay was offered the position, and the REA consultant coached her through the salary negotiation process. Kay accepted the job. Thank you, REA, for making our move and transition easy. If you need career relocation assistance, career transition, outplacement services, or executive coaching, contact the experienced professionals at REA. For more information, please visit r-e-a.com.
Some people prefer traditional funeral services. Others prefer cremation. Some want an elaborate ceremony. Others don't want any ceremony at all. Visit Funeral Homes offer all types of services because we know there are all types of people. That's why we specialize in personalized funeral services. To meet the needs of each and every family, call Bishop Quinlan Funeral Homes of Clifton at 973-546-2000 and Bishop Parker Funeral Home of Little Falls at 973-256-4700 for ideas and information on how to plan a service as individual as you are.
Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life now has a free monthly digital magazine that can be read online or emailed to your inbox. Each month, nationally recognized leaders in their field provide the information that you need to inspire and motivate you. We believe in a holistic approach to life, incorporating mind, body, and spirit. As philosopher Francis Bacon said, knowledge is power. Use the wisdom provided in the publication and apply it to your everyday life. Visit cyacyl.com for more information or to begin your free subscription. That's cyacyl.com. Welcome back to Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. I'm Joan Herman. Our guest today is Wes Yoder, author of Bond of Brothers, Connecting with Other Men Beyond Work, Weather, and Sports. Before break, we were discussing why it's important for men to get past superficial conversation in order to experience deep, meaningful relationships. Now Wes is going to share tips to help men get the conversation started. Wes, what would you say for a man that really wants to experience those deeper relationships, who really wants to grow? How can this man or this person get, because, we're talking about men, but this also relates to women as well. How can a person begin on this journey?
Well, I always tell guys, listen, let me tell you the story of my life here, and that involves the sorrows of my heart, some betrayals, some things I had to forgive, some very, very difficult things relationally with my father, all kinds of things. And I came to a point where I was completely dissatisfied with the shallowness of my life and the shallowness that I was experiencing with friends of 20 and 30 years, where we literally love each other to death but aren't talking about anything. And so when my daughter was falling in love, and I knew this young man was going to come and ask me for her hand in marriage, come to my wife and I and say, hey, is it okay if I ask your daughter to marry me? I knew that if I said yes to him in one word, I would set my daughter's welfare and our legacy. And we weren't talking even with our close friends about what that really meant. We were only saying, well, do you like him? Do you not like him? Well, yes, sort of. Yeah, I think I do. Yeah, it's okay. And we didn't have this conversation. So I have in my own life, as a result of that, started a dinner group with the guys that I thought would be the guys that would carry my coffin. I go, who's going to carry my coffin? Mm-hmm. And why am I not talking to these guys? They'll carry my coffin because they think I'm a nice guy or because they're nice guys. But do we really even know each other? So we started this dinner group, and in this dinner group, I said, look, this is the problem that I sense, the shallowness. I had this young man come and ask for my daughter's hand in marriage. We said yes, and we haven't had any conversations with any of our close friends about this sort of thing. How about if we have dinner one night? We're gonna I'll cook some steaks and potatoes, and Linda will go off to the movies or do something with her friends. It'll just be a guys' night, and I'm going to ask one question. And when they got there, the question was, what's the most surprising thing that's ever happened in your life? And even guys that I knew well started talking about things that we had never even talked about before. So there were two things. One, inviting people into a quiet context, men into a quiet context where we can talk, where nobody's rolling their eyes, where everybody's listening. And then second of all, being thoughtful about the kinds of questions that really represent what we care about. One night we talked about our fathers, and we talked for hours about our dads. And none of the guys had ever been in a conversation like that before with other men, except for little comments here and there. And I asked this question, what was your father like? Was he a strong man? Was he a weak man? Was he harsh? Was he kind? Was he loving? Did he say, I love you? Did he perhaps abuse you, but there's still something about him that you admire and would like to emulate? And that question evoked this outpouring of just the hearts of men talking about their dads and the kind of men that we wanted to be.
So communication is the key to achieve communication.
It actually is, and the idea that men don't want to talk or can't talk or won't talk is I think a huge fallacy in our culture. We just assume, goes back to your earlier question, we just assume guys not only won't talk, but they can't talk. And when you get them into a context where they are accepted for who they are, I have never found a man yet who won't start talking about the things he really cares about most.
So if you provide a warm, loving environment, hopefully then the man will feel safe and secure enough to open up.
Yeah, and I say this, I don't think it's possible for a man to be the kind of father that he is meant to be or could be, has the capacity to be, or to be the kind of husband that he has the capacity to be, and that he even wants to be, unless he has strong male friendships that are helping him understand what is healthy manhood all about. I think when you look at the divorce rate, we're looking at all the superficial things. We're looking at all the affairs. We're looking at all of the unfaithfulness. We're looking at all the things that actually come up to the surface. But what's beneath that is a great deal of sorrow and a great deal of alienation and loneliness and emptiness. And that's what my book, Bond of Brothers, is really about, is to try to get men to acknowledge the sorrows of their life. We spend so much time in America, whether it's in churches or whether it's just in the general culture, we want that jerk to admit what he did.
Yeah.
Well, fine. What if he admits it? What next? How about if we start helping him understand the sorrow of his life that's beneath the action, and that's when I think we start getting somewhere.
Wes, you talk about the tough years for men. What are these tough years?
The tough years in my life were the years that when I was young, I thought were really going to be a bit of a promised land. I thought when men got to be in their 45, 50, 55, 60, they sort of had the world by the tail. Their retirement was coming up. They were successful in business. Everybody liked them by then. And when I got there, I encountered betrayal by friends, betrayal in business, the kids leaving home, going to college like we had prepared them to go, them getting married, moving to other cities for a while. And all of a sudden, Linda and I, my wife and I, are left looking at each other in what had been kind of Grand Central Station with all the kids coming through our home on Friday nights after the football games. Everything got quiet and stopped. And we had to stop and ask ourselves the question, what is the purpose of our life together? Does it have purpose? What is the meaning? And we went back deep into what our purpose had been for the previous 20 years. And began to establish this idea that our home is really where the purpose of our life is, what happens around our dinner table, the conversations that we have, the kids and the people and the lonely folks and the happy people, anybody that's invited to our table. And so we started reestablishing that when all these other things of betrayal and things that really required an enormous amount of forgiveness, some things in the church, some things in business, some things just relationally that were the tough years. For some people, the tough years are a divorce right at the time when they thought they were going to be traveling the world with their spouse. Sometimes it's the loss of a job. Sometimes it's the loss of health. But it's always these tough years always come with some kind of loss, and there's no person on the face of the earth that can live their life and not eventually face some of those sorrows that come from the losses.
The book is Bond of Brothers, Connecting with Other Men Beyond Work, Weather, and Sports by Wes Yoder. Wes, where can our listeners go to get more information about you and your work?
There is a website, bondofbrothers.net. We have a Wes Yoder writer page on Facebook that is going to be populated with a lot of information in the coming weeks. Then, of course, you can find the book on Amazon and Barnes & Noble, all kinds of places. But there's just more to be had. I think one of the greatest things that I want to say to guys and to women who are married to men and to sons who might be listening with their fathers is there is in every man, whether he's 17, 18 years old, whether he's 50 years old and going through the tough years, there is a treasure inside of men that is worth finding, worth celebrating, worth affirming, and that's what I hope this book and radio shows like this will help to do.
As always, if our listeners would like more information about Wes and his book, Bonded Brothers, you can visit our website as well, which is cyacyl.com. That stands for Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. While on our website, listen to past shows as podcasts, read our digital magazine, sign up for our mailing list, and now you can take part in our new book club. Wes, again, I want to thank you for sharing a male perspective with us. As I said in the beginning, I think this is a very important topic. I think if men read your book, if they do the work, if women support the men, I think that it can have a real far-reaching impact on our society. So thank you again for sharing this and for getting the process started.
And Joan, thank you for just giving a place for this topic to be discussed. I think if we bring the discussion into the public forum in deeper ways, you're going to find an amazing help. I think in America and in the West, manhood looks like it's in shambles. I don't think it's a very long step, though. It's not a very long journey back home, back to the place of healthy manhood. But unless we take those steps, we're never going to be the country or the families that we used to be.
This is Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. I'm Joan Herman. Thanks for tuning in.